Okay.
How's everyone doing today? Thank you guys so much for joining us. I am very honored and excited to be here, not only taking part in this convention, a place that I've literally grown up. I see a lot of familiar faces, and I would say the game is flourishing despite all of us. So that's a good thing along the way. So, obviously it's an honor, and we really want to have you guys leave this room feeling like you heard something new, feeling like you had a great answer to a good question, and feeling like, more than anything, that this was well worth your time in a crowded convention schedule. So, obviously, I'd love for all of us one more time to give it up for Mr. Jurgen Klinnsman. Yeah. And I am Alan Hopkins, and I'm so excited that you guys are with us this evening. And for us, I think you'll find this will be a conversation and a dialogue. And I hope you guys can participate in it, and we've left plenty of room for questions along the way. So, first and foremost, I think everyone would like to know, outside of maybe carpool here and there, how are you spending your days now that you're not in charge of the U.S. men's national team? How are you occupying your time? What's life been like?
Life's been good. No, I mean, obviously, after being let go at the end of November, it's another chapter starts, and you have time a little bit to reflect on everything that happened. What you did. I mean, first and foremost, I'm very thankful, and I always felt very privileged, to have led that national team over the last 5.5 years with all the up and downs. And and represent all of you guys in the soccer community. I learned a lot, and so it's been an amazing run. It's been a lot of fun too. And when that moment comes, and one door closes, 3 other ones will open up. And you get the chance now to kind of sit back a second and take a little bit of time off, have more time for the family. As a national team coach, you're usually on the road about 120 to 140 days a year. You're gone from the family. So I use now that time to spend it with the family, and then sooner or later you're gonna come back and do something exciting again.
Obviously you touched on the moment of reflection that you've been afforded. What are some of those things, when you look back at your U.S. men's national team experience, that you consistently find yourself thinking about or going back to?
Well, as we coaches, we are there to develop players. We are there to, move a program forward. You are there to handle people. So you are basically in the business of people management. So you want to see progress. You want to see, that in every area that you work on, that things are going in the right direction. With the national team program, you are entering a different cycle as in a club environment. In a club environment, obviously, especially on the professional level, you go non-stop, basically throughout the entire year. With the national team, you're going mainly from World Cup to World Cup. If you have the chance, like we had last year with a Copa America, then it's a gift from God, really, because it redefines then your program real quick on a very important moment in time. When you look then at all those different chapters that you went through, then it was thrilling. I mean, nobody really had us on the or counted on us when we went down to Brazil to come out of the group of death. Nobody really thought that we go into places playing friendly games, and beat Germany in Germany, Holland in Holland, Mexico in Mexico, and so on. So there were a lot of smaller excitements around, and I think the Copa America last summer was just cool. I mean, it was something where you're so happy for your players that they get the chance, to play these players in real competition, and we hit the wall obviously with Messi in Argentina in the semifinal, but I think the learning curve of all the players in that moment was huge, and hopefully they take that experience with, towards Russia now, and they benefit at the end of the day of it. So there has been a lot of good moments. There has been some disappointments, like the Gold Cup in 2015, but that's part of the development of people. It's part of the development of a program. So overall, I'm very grateful for every moment of it.
I'm curious, you just touched on something, and it's really failure in the midst of progress. And if you are down the 110, cross the 105, that's where Elon Musk and Tesla are doing all their cool stuff. They applaud when a rocket crashes because that means they're that much closer. They celebrate failure. How do you, in the midst of judging how far you're going and the progress, also be able to communicate the importance for everyone in this room and everyone outside of this convention that ultimately there has to be failure accounted for in development? How have you been able to reconcile that?
I think in the world of soccer, you measure it on results, So, we have a very successful 2016 and the semifinals of the Copa America came at the end of the year, 2 lost games, obviously 2 very important ones, as the beginning of the hacks, and then your federation decides to let you go. So when you have those moments of failure, I think it's really important to see then, okay, where does this decision now lead towards, But this answer, I won't get, because it's now Bruce's job to get the job done. But when we all look always at certain periods and developments of teams, and in your environment, if you coach now, on the youth level or high school or club environment or academy or college or even professional level, you come always to certain moments where you kind of need, a clear benchmark. You need to be benchmarked. You need to know exactly, okay, that's where you are right now. And then, you got to live also with consequences. When the benchmark was, you cannot lose against Costa Rica and Mexico, then that's the benchmark. That's then what you have to live with. But I think overall, you are in the world of developing athletes, players, and there's nothing more exciting than that, at least for me.
It's amazing. You just touched on the array of coaches. I think this is the only association where you can have seated next to each other, literally in consecutive order, coaches at every different level, men's and women's, junior college, small college, Division I, high school. And that's what's so special about this place and this room. And I'm really curious because I think it's important for all the coaches to recognize at some point we have to look back and say the journey was better than the end. And very rarely do athletes and coaches get to call their walk-off. So where did you find this resolve in those moments of failure to know that you were going to be okay, that things were going to be fine? Where does that come from?
Well, I think it's in your personal relationship with the people that you work with. It's in your personal relationship, hopefully for all of us, with the players, because we are in there for hopefully trying to get the players to another level, to encourage them, to inspire them to jump to another level, no matter what field we are coaching in. Doesn't really matter. And I think when you then go and you do your homework and you analyze each of these players and you talk to them, you communicate and you see, oh, I see this going up. I see this. Oh, he's making a step down, but he's coming back up. I think that's really the excitement in what we're living in, and hopefully it results into a better team and in some wins with your team. But really, I go back to the fact that we are there for helping young people making a hopefully very, very successful career. And when I look now at the player pool that we developed over the last 5 years, you are still in a I call it always a transition phase, where you have to be patient, you have to kind of throw young kids into the cold water and then let them swim, and some they will swallow a lot of water. And then you bring them back out and say, you know what, okay, it didn't work out this time, but the next time it will work out. I'll give an example. When we lost the Gold Cup in 2015, a lot of how could you play, Ventura Alvarado and John Brooks in the center defense, these 2 young guys. Well, I'm telling you, 2 or 3 years from now, John Brooks will be one of the best center backs in Europe. And Ventura Alvarado is going up and down with Club America, but he just won the championship kind of again. So you have young players that you got to give them time to come through, and you got to give them the chance to fail, as we coaches do too, you know. So with that failure, you got to really kind of encourage them and tell them, listen, you know, it won't be the last time, you know, you swallow that water, you know, it won't be the last time people will attack you, you should have done that, or you played shit, or whatever it was. You know, it's really kind of that for us coaches to take that challenge on in a very, very positive way. There is no such thing as failure for all of you. You know, when you work with people, when you work especially with young people, you know, it's you are all the difference makers. You're difference makers. You're game changers the whole time, because you are responsible to bringing along young people that you have an amazing amount of influence on what they're going to do with their lives. And soccer is the tool for it. We use soccer as the tool. You know, now do we want the next Messi here? Oh, awesome, yeah. Maybe we found it with Pulisic, who knows? You know, but your influence that you have with every one of your players in whatever level you are in there, and the level is not important, it is what you do is important, makes you real difference makers. And so when I look back now, I'm not looking back at you know, okay, you know, you lost this game or that game, you should have done this or that better. Yep, you can obviously have that discussion all day long in a pub, you know, and go at each other, you know, which is fun. But it's more about, okay, you know, you started with that group of players, then you transition in the next group of younger players, and this is where the players started now, and this is where they're going towards now. You know, we have a younger group of players in Europe. For example, Cameron Carter-Vickers, a center back at Tottenham. You have a Haji Wright at Schalke. You have a Joshua Perez, you know, one of our, you know, connected, you know, coaches as well in Florence. You know, you have a Ruby Rubin in Holland, and you have many academy players here in the U.S. coming through and MLS academies. And there's nothing more exciting for all of us to see them come through. And you you put water on the flower, and one day you want to see them bloom. Mm-hmm. You want to see them come out, and that's the beauty of the game. Mm-hmm. You know, when they start to bloom, then whoa, now we have a game.
You know, a couple of things as we continue on, and I think player development is something everyone is sort of curious about, some of your ideas and some of your philosophies. But one thing I wanted to touch on, and you and I have known each other for a long time, and I got a chance to work with you for a long period of time as well. And one of the things that I think would be even helpful for this group is some of the conversations you and I used to have on buses, on charters, just about how you build things. And it's much easier, I think anyone with any entrepreneurial spirit, it is much easier to build something from the ground up than to take something over and build it. Many of the coaches in here are inheriting something. They're taking over something. You know, there's some drywall that needs to be done. It's not turnkey. What are some of the things you have focused on as you've taken over pre-existing awesome jobs? Let's just be fair, some really good jobs. What are some of the things that you used to help install and instill what you're about and what you're trying to accomplish?
I mean, I think for all of us, you know, we come into a new environment and we analyze that environment, and you want to help it now to go to another level. You want to help it to improve with your ideas, with your thoughts, with your team of people, and then you go through a series of due diligence, and you say, okay, you know what? Let's analyze it, and then you bring in all your ideas and you bounce it back and forth with our other people as well. And I think in a lot of ways, you know, when you talk about traditional coaches' education, then we were always told about, you know, the four big pillars, you know, technical, tactical, physical, and mental. Whenever you can walk into the German FA, or you can walk into the, you know, into Spain or Brazil or whatever, you know, and these are always the pillars, you know, and I think that everyone here already moved away from that model. You know, it's not the model anymore, because we live now in a completely different time. You know, we live in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You know, instantly things change. You know, our kids are totally different the way they grow up now than our generation, and so on. So So when you then on a national team level then, or even a top club teams, and if you talk in Europe or in South America, all these coaches now, they get confronted not only with these traditional 4 pillars, they get confronted with, okay, media management, medical management, administrative management, and about 5, 6 more of those pillars where you say, shit, I mean, I would just want to coach this team. But you kind of figure out after
Amen.
a while that, okay, you know what, it's again, you're going back to people management. It's environmental management. You have to cover your bases in a lot of other fields. Medical staff can break you or make you. A media staff can make you or break you. Your equipment manager can be very good for everybody or can be very bad for everybody. The bus driver is hopefully having good energy today. And so that.
Well, one thing real quick, Jurgen, in this room, there's a lot of coaches saying, I am that person. So hopefully.
And the bus driver.
Yeah, they're the bus driver, and they are the equipment
Then you
guy.
got everything under control.
Yeah, that's right. Then it's all good.
Then you're all good, Yeah. If the bus driver plays the wrong music for the kids, you're in trouble.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We were fortunate. We worked and talked a lot about player development, but I really do believe it's personal development. We're developing people. They're developing personalities. And I think, without a doubt, one of the things that you instilled that I saw and see that isn't really seen here because it's not sexy, it's not cool. If you're building a house, no one really cares about the copper plumbing, but we all know it's important, right? So one of the things that I know you really did change was player accountability. And we talked about it a lot. And we did a lot of really cool messaging. And one of the things that you were able to do was not only sort of model the own curiosity about life and accumulating knowledge, but also you did a good job of taking sort of a blind spot and then bringing someone else in who can help carry and articulate that message. And one of those great stories I'd love for you to share is when Steve Nash had a chance to be in camp with the team, and how about some of those moments and some of those ideas and some of his advice really rubbed off well on some of the players.
I think, we deal now with a generation of young people, of players that are really kind of, distracted the whole day because they are on their cell phones and they are on the computer. Their brain is not 100% here just now together because that is distracted, So it's very difficult for all of us. Is, okay, how do I get their attention? I mean, even if it's just 10 minutes, I just want to give you some key messages, some bullet points, but can you stay with me for 10 minutes? And they struggle. They struggle because they're doing that all day long. So how can they just stop it now for 10 minutes? Unless you tell them, drop off the cell phones out there, in a basket, and now actually I have to be here, So we tried really to, over the years, we try to bring in guest speakers, we try to kind of just inspire them and give them some stuff to think about it and to grow with. So when Steve Nash came in, we did a classroom session there, and I said, Steve, I really want you to kind of hit them a bit. I mean, Steve is a crazy soccer guy and a great player actually. So he was in front of the group, and then he approached the player and. He asked the player, what's your goal? And the player was a little bit nervous. Shit, there's Steve Nash in front of me and asking me, and the player was 19 years old. And, no, what's your goal? And the player said, my goal is to play for Borussia Dortmund one day. And Steve said, whoa, that's pretty cool. So what's your plan? What's your plan? And I think that's something where, where we coaches really come in because the kids have no plan, they have dreams. Mm-hmm. The kids that want to, the players want to play on the highest level possible. They want to go up the ranks, and whatever their ultimate goal is, it's totally fine. But I think they really do not have a plan for it, and I think that we coaches often underestimate the power that we have in the development of the kids, So by asking that, so where do you want, what do you want to achieve one day? With that, you open up that the line of communication, and suddenly maybe you sit down and you spend then, 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe even an hour or whatever, on helping him to, okay, you know what, if you now have the dream, I want to play. So he asked, and Steve followed up. Steve, he said, why Borussia Dortmund? Because Steve Nash is a crazy Tottenham fan, why Borussia Dortmund? He said, no, I love that team, the aggressiveness of that team, the speed, the stadium. That's what I want to. That's where I want to be one day. And then we started that conversation. Okay, what does it really mean to develop a plan? And that's where we adults really have to come in and sit down. Okay, you know what? How many training sessions do they have at Borussia Dortmund? So they're playing an 11-month season. They're playing every 3 or 4 days. They're playing Champions League, German Bundesliga, German Cup. They train twice a week, 2 times. The rest they train 1 time. They pretty much have 3 weeks off a year. So he looked then and said, "Shit, my environment. I have 6 weeks off. I train once a day. I'm pretty good off. So I think, often just for us coaches, it's important to look outside and see, okay, how do they do it there? And we can all learn from each other. We always are learning, and I think this is something that I really want to encourage all of you in there to help them understand, how can a plan being built? You are there. You can sit down with them. You can say clearly in their faces, and make it from their dream towards a plan, towards maybe, really the next step in their careers. And wherever that end path is then, they will be forever grateful to all of you.
You touched on something, and I don't know if there'll be anyone else who could really answer this question because you lived it personally, you lived it professionally. But I would ask you, why do you think, or I should say maybe rephrase, where are the key areas to take the best practices, which are oftentimes in Europe, and meld them and adopt them into what we're doing in America without coming across as jingoistic or defensive or drawing your battle lines based on your ethnicity or the country you root for? Because in reality, best practices are something that if you're in insurance or you're in tech, you're always looking for it, and you always accept it as the best practice. For some reason, we get a little defensive because we're Americans. So how do you sort of judge that moment almost as like this little aisleway in which we can take the very best in those environments, because they produce the best players, and then make it our own, because what we have here is totally unique, and it is our own?
I think the key is in you as an individual person. I think all the best practices you can learn from every coach out there. You can learn from every lesson that was shown now these couple of days. If you go out to clubs, and you can watch or observe. But I think you are the best person at the end of the day. Now, you are setting your own standards. You are setting your own goals, and you are making your own plans. So I think, you do not need to compare yourself to another coach or another club or another environment. I think you just need to set yourself a clear statement and say, this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to do with my coaching career, if that's what you decided on. This is, how I want to guide this environment of people, because the environment of people that you guide is very different from Manchester United or Bayern Munich, or the national team, So you are the key to everything, And I think often we make the mistake to look all over the place. You can learn I learn from you, from everyone, but But it is what you want to do at the end of the day. When you then think, okay, how can I be better than today? And you just think about what can I do tomorrow to make myself a better coach, or maybe try out a different exercise, or maybe have another talk with a kid that I don't really like, or whatever. So, but it's you. You will see that improvement in yourself will be very rewarding because, again, it's a small world. We can meet each other every year at an NCAA convention. The soccer community is small, but you will bump into your old players no matter what later on. So now look 20 years ahead from now. 20 years ahead from now, I want to hear from Jordan Morris his stories about Stanford. Because it's a cute story that he really went through. It's inspiring. And so is every coach. All of you are there to inspire the kids, and you will get paid back from them. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not this year, but later on in life. And that's why, I think the best practice has to be you. You are the best practice out there.
Jurgen's so great. We were backstage, and we have a long, long list of questions, but when he told me if I had a pen, I knew he was going to make sure that there was room really to interact and hear from you guys. So we're going to start the sort of slow descent before we have I think a really lengthy time for some really good Q&As. I'm just throwing out a warning shot that this is your time to practice what you're going to say or think of a really good question ahead of what I hope is just a really great platform and forum from you to hear about how he really feels by hopefully a whole bunch of different things. One of the other things I'd love to hear about simply, and again, sort of some more pub stuff, but as a player and coach, you won a lot of big games. And what are some of your fondest memories, either on the fun side of the chalk playing or the side on the other side we don't have as much control or effect on the game? And obviously, starting with your time with the national team, I'd love to hear about some of the results that stick out to you as things that you're really proud of and happy to be a part of.
I think with our national team program, probably the one of the most special moments, which I didn't understand before that game, actually, how special it would be to a lot of people here, was winning in Mexico. Mm-hmm. First time ever at Azteca. Because I'm German and I never, my rivalry is Holland. As long as we beat the orange ones, I'm all good. But so we won this game in Mexico City, and it was right after the 2012 Olympics that Mexico won with their fantastic team. They were honored at halftime that day, the Olympic team, and so we played that friendly, and we happened to score a couple of minutes before the end through Michael Orozco, who is Mexican-American, and we all freaked out. I said, this is so cool, But I didn't understand it really because, I didn't grow up here. So then the response when we came home from a lot of you guys and a lot of coaches throughout the country blew me away because, whoa, this really means a lot, I thought.
I remember being on the bus and your phone was just... there were so many messages and so many people. And I'm sure in that moment, that's when you started to think, coaches some pro coaches, some coaches you probably didn't know had your number, were making sure they reached out. And that was just such great insight because it's just a great reminder. Until we all experience, we don't really know what it's like. And I remember how important that was in the build-up and the bus driver going the wrong way in the tunnel and us having to walk in and all that stuff, a little bit gamesmanship. As a player, what are some of the things that, as a coach, that you always still kind of hold on to as special memories that you're able to impart? Because this room is filled with a lot of coaches who played and play at a high level. What are some of the things that you hung on to that you really feel like benefited you as a coach?
I think as a player, you are kind of in a mindset where you know it always better than the coach. So you go through your career as a player, and you never have the perfect coach. And later on, when you become a coach, you realize that you were so wrong. And
now there's no perfect players.
So as fast as players know that's his weak spot. You know now about the players what their weak spots are. I think the beauty of going through a playing time is really memorizing a lot of advices from the coaches that you went through, and I was very, very blessed. I had coaches like Menotti, like Beckenbauer, like Ossiard Dieles, like Ari Hahn, a Dutch coach, like Otto Rehagel, a famous German coach, and so on, Trapattoni from Italy, and at that time as a player, you don't really understand, how good they really were, until then later you become a coach, and then you remember, what did he say at that moment in time, So I took lessons from all of them, I think one really special lesson that often is with me is when I'm very, very angry, when something happens, unexpectedly, you lose, or you really I had a coach, Otto Rehagel, he's now, I think about almost 80 years old. 79. He always said to me, Jurgen, never make decisions when you hate something or when you are angry. You always have to sleep over it. So I always kept that in the back of my mind. So I never made decisions as a coach then right after a game, even if I was loaded, and I wanted to go at a certain thing or a certain person or whatever. So I think, the pieces that your players learn from you over the many years, they will come back. They will come back in their own words one day when you have them, meet them maybe 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And they will be thankful for those bullet points you gave them at a specific time. Don't wait for getting that kind of thank you right now. It's not going to come. I didn't thank the coaches at my time when I was a player.
The one thing, and I can honestly say you did a great job of doing just that, making sure that it was sort of kept under. I just knew to be on the bus a little bit quicker when the results didn't go our way, because there was no lingering. As most coaches know, it's time to get up and get out when things don't go your way. Before we get into the Q&A, I'm just curious. You love the game. It's your passion. As I've always said myself, it's my passion, my distraction, my job. It's everything. I love it. You're always consuming it. When you're watching games around the country, especially as now you've segued from scout and looking at, okay, we might need to make a note about him, or this team's on the come up. Now you're just sort of fanboy like all of us. So who are some of the teams or some of the coaching sort of philosophies you're seeing, on display that you really like in terms of how their teams are playing or how they're competing? Who are some of the teams or clubs you really feel like right now are doing a good job in your opinion?
Now we go into kind of the pub language.
Yeah.
I was a former striker, and so I love attacking soccer. I love to, high pressure. I love to kind of put the stamp on the opponent whenever that is possible. Now you put the stamp on your opponent. Its name is Argentina. It's a little bit more difficult, So, but whenever I now get to see, or even before, I think when we look back couple of months ago, in the Copa America, there was a game, Argentina-Chile, and you watch that, I was exhausted at halftime. I was just watching it on TV, I said, this is unreal, So there are games out there for us coaches to watch, to admire, when, yes, it's about individual players, and which we all love, these special ones, but it's about rhythm, it's about almost like like music, and when you saw Chile play over the last couple of years, this is a team that is one of the favorites for the next World Cup, or you see Germany when they pick it up, and they set the gear in a higher, or Spain in a higher, in a, whatever 6-7 region, then okay, then that is music, I was asked after when we lost against Argentina 4-0 in the Copa America, obviously, how can you, how can you lose 4-0, and I had to laugh, because I said to that gentleman, I said in back, I said, it's a fair question, and I take the responsibility. We've lost 4-0. But I said, shit, they could have given us 8. and the guy looked at me, and I'm not saying his name, What are you talking about? We are, where we are now, we did so well, we came out of a group of death, and we did this and we did that, and now you say something. I said, yeah, because there are another couple of levels, out there, And when we watch games and you watch a Premier League game, you watch a Champions League game, which is the highest level, really. When you watch, I don't know, Man City play or Bayern Munich or Real Madrid, Barcelona, and they pick up the tempo, then this is just fun for all of us, to enjoy, And that was, when they gave us the fourth goal there in that game against Argentina, I looked at Messi and I made this, Mr. Messi. Man, I said, please slow it down. And he made this. Oh, okay. Thankfully, it ended 4-0. Yeah. And this is kind of just, when this is the fun of it all. I mean, for me, it should be a very bad day. Right. And obviously the result, it was a bad day. Or you take when we played Mexico in Pasadena there for the CONCACAF playoff, and we lost it 3-2 in extra time and 95,000 and 60,000 Mexican fans and all that stuff, and everybody was ready to chop my head off, and I see some journalists there on the side, and I was there in a press conference, and they asked me, so now what? Now, you should be gone, And I said, a huge compliment to Mexico because this was a damn good game. I was exhausted because it was a fantastic game, and they won it in extra time with a fantastic goal. The right back hits a half volley. He never will score that goal again in his whole life. Paul Aguilar, and I just said, congratulations. But obviously you cannot kind of smile. You're devastated, you lost it, and we're not going to Confederations Cup and all that stuff. But I think, it's when you kind of step back all the time after we kind of let the emotions a little bit settle, and you acknowledge that you make mistakes, and you're responsible for results. It's all cool. But I think it should never take the fun away from us. It should never take that enjoyment away from us coaches, because the kids feel that. The kids feel everything you guys do. They feel when you are in a bad mood coming into a training sessions, when something is bugging you, when your body language is maybe not that way it should be, when the way you talk to them is not kind of energetic. Your power is so huge on the kids that you never forget that, please, because that's what they get inspired with, and that's what makes their careers. When you run the kids to the age of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, what is your goal? Your goal is that he comes back next season. Mm-hmm. That's your goal. Yes, you want to win and score goals and have a blast, but not everybody can win. Only one can win on the field. And so, but this is what we are there for. So, when you lose the Gold Cup and John Brooks had made some mistakes, I went to John and said, you know what? The next one is coming. That's the beauty of the game. There's a next game, and you're going to be one of the top center backs, ever in U.S. soccer history. And he's going to be that player. But you are the key to that. You carry that key with you every time you step on the field. Every time you see your player, every time you communicate with them, you are basically turning that key. And I just want to encourage you that always use that opportunity, because you're a difference maker. If you want or not, you are in that position, and it will pay off in the long run. So just keep that energy.
Well said. We're going to mobilize now for some questions as well. We have one microphone. Lots of questions, one microphone. The math is not great, but I think we'll get there.
All right. I have a question about the college game. You've kind of
Real quick, say your name and where you're from. Yeah, introduce yourself like you're having a conversation.
Hi, I'm Brooks. I'm actually from LA. I have a question about the collegiate game. You've been a proponent and an opponent of it kind of throughout your career with the U.S., and I wonder if you feel there would be any impact to that 10-month schedule that they've kind of proposed but not really had any movement on, and what kind of impact it might have in the future of development of players in the United States.
I mean, in the background, we're working on that since years, and the only people that can break it through is the NCAA. It has to come. It's a no-brainer. It has to. If the college system wants to be a feeder system for the professional game, they have to go to a 10-month season, at least. If not, you are not really a feeder system. You know, we still bring kids through, and the kids manage it somehow. You coaches manage it somehow, but they lose so much, you know, in their development that they just will never reach their maximum, whatever that is at the end of the day. So I think it has to come. Hopefully, the people that decide on that will do that as soon as possible. I've been in touch with a lot of college coaches over the years. We often talked about that. My own son is at college. He's a sophomore. And I hope that it is coming, but it's a must. It's a must because the way it is right now, it's not helping the kids.
Tino Morfin here from Los Angeles. I'm Mexican American, and I was wondering if you will ever be interested to one day coach in the Mexican League.
Oh, my Spanish is really bad. So I better go back to school. I mean, you know what? This morning I was on a call with media people in Germany, and they want me now to come back to it. And I said, I don't know. I mean, anything can happen in life, you know, with all of us, you know. So I'm not saying never, you know, because it's a crazy world out there. You know? So who knows? But my Spanish has to get better, definitely.
All right, I'm Julio Hermosa from San Diego. How's it going? Ever since you took over as both the coach and directing everything underneath, you spoke a lot about the process, and even today you spoke a lot about the process. Do you feel like you were able to kind of accomplish the change in the process, even though you were let go? And if not, then how close were you?
I think it's for all of us, and wherever we work, it's an ongoing process. You know, we continue to give our best in whatever we do and whatever we want to accomplish. You know, so the results will tell. You know, in the future time, if it helped now for Bruce now to achieve the goals that are set. But I think it's whenever you have the chance to kind of put your stamp a little bit on a program, then do it with everything you have, and I think that's what I try to do, So I think in that process we achieved a lot within the system of U.S. soccer, within the national team, within coaches' education, within kind of connecting a lot of dots, not all dots because there are so many still out there that are disconnected, which we all know. But there was a lot of work done, and is there for the next group of leaders to continue that path. I hope that a lot of the young players that we have in the pool that are not actually in the senior team yet. I hope they're coming through because we build a scouting system not only in Mexico, we build it in all over Europe. We have social workers out there looking at the kids at the age of 17, 18, 19. That all hopefully comes through one day. It might maybe take another 5 years. I don't know. But that process is just, I think we all need to be aware that we're just part of a certain timeline, and then somebody else takes over and takes it to the next level, and in his own way, in his own personal way. But a lot has been done the last 5 years, which I'm very proud of.
Right here.
Hello, I'm Sean. I'm up from Washington, up in Northwest. So I just want to know what type of importance you place on in regards to development of younger players, what type of importance you place on them experiencing failure, and more how they recognize it. Because it seems like our country is more going this direction of not keeping score and then kind of giving everyone participation medals. So I'm just kind of wondering how that affects them as they develop.
I think, if the foundation is, first of all, participation and get them to kind of win them over to play the game and enjoy and have fun with the game and really develop a passion for soccer, then I think it's great. I think our foundation with AYSO is a wonderful foundation to get them introduced to the game, and also the parents getting them introduced to the game as well. I think the more you kind of step it up, the more important it is to become competitive. I never liked the word recreational and competitive. It was actually the first time ever I heard it was here. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's sports. Sports is competition. You want to play inner city basketball, you only stay on the court if you win. So it's about to compete and with the respect that it needs. So I think kids out there also, they have to figure out ways how to win. They have to figure out ways to, when they're coming back to the college question, to make the right decisions when I'm tired and I'm not getting subbed out 15 times a game. I think that rule kills a lot of our kids because, you have to figure out a game when you're tired. Shit, 80th minute, my legs are so heavy. Oh, but I got to go the 60-yard. I can actually score, but I'm so that tired. No, the coach pulls me off. He brings the fresh guy in. And so we made all our homework, I think it's an average of 12 substitutions on a Division I level. Holy moly, tell this now a coach in South America or in Europe that you got to sub 12 times in a game. What does that lead to? But that's the competitiveness, because you need the kid to experience tiredness, making mistakes. Shit, now I realize I made the mistake because I was tired. I should have just kept it simple, passing it the 5 yards over, instead of trying a one-on-one, losing the ball, and boom, we get the counter break and we lose the game. So I think, the introduction level is good, the participation. I don't think they need medals every day, no. But then make it competitive. It's a competitive sport. I mean, that's what we enjoy.
My name is Eddie Löwen. I'm from Florida with Denny and Sterling Soccer Club and GFL Soccer, but originally from Germany. Your good friend Jurgen Rollmann says hello too. And we want to thank you for everything you've done here in the game of soccer. My question is, how do you think your great career would have looked like if you would have been raised or if you would have grown up in the U.S.?
Ooh, that got a little kind of around the room right there. That's the kind of question, I guess, that the response I was looking for.
I think this is one of the biggest challenges we have in the United States is that, the DNA of sports is basketball, football, baseball, and hockey, and it is how you are surrounded with, So it is for our sport, it is still difficult to kind of, I think it's far more mainstream now than it ever was before. It helps tremendously that we have Title IX and we have the girls kind of given the same opportunity as the boys. I think this is unique in the world. This is awesome. Now, the best talents in the world, when you talk always about, the ones that we love so much, the Neymars and the Messis and the Ronaldos, so where did they grow up? They are the inner city basketball kids. That's who they are, in their countries, and I was an inner city basketball kid probably in soccer terms in my country. So there's still a lot of opportunity out there for the game of soccer to grow, because we got to take it to where the kids are. We got to inspire them. I think television now helps a lot. We see all the leagues in the world now. We have a professional league, 20 years old, that does a tremendous job getting bigger and bigger and getting more and more attention, So it's growing, but we still have a way to go. So would I have made it to that level growing up here? I doubt it. I don't know. Maybe I would have played, baseball or something. I don't know. I'm really bad at baseball.
You picked the one sport that, you probably
not really can't watch. Yes, Coach.
Hi there. This is Maximilian speaking from Munich. Servus, Jürgen. Yes, when you've been head coach of the German team, you brought some innovative concepts from the US to Germany that still are contributing to the great success we have. Looking into 2017, what can European football learn from the US, since you're expert here in the US?
I think, as I said before, everybody can learn from everybody. So here are certain things like this convention is unique in the world. Guys, this is amazing. You know, when I think I came first time, it was almost 20 years ago, to a convention, I was blown away, and a lot of coaches around the world were blown away to come here and to see a soccer convention. You know, it doesn't exist in nowhere in Europe. And actually a friend of mine, Carlos Alberto Pereira, who was the World Cup winning coach of Brazil 1994 here in the US, he started a little bit of a small NSCAA convention in Brazil with professional coaches. And it rose now over the many years to a convention of about 1,500 coaches throughout Brazil coming together. So the exchange of opinions, the exchange of knowledge, you know, the knowledge that is available to all of us, you know, is on a completely different level in the United States. So you can know anything you want to if you just go online and you see all the different, you know, aspects of the games and approaches and technology. Where does all the software technology for game analyzing the games and measuring and all that come from? It's coming from here. So there are many elements that come out of the American way of doing things that Europeans are buying into. Europeans are curious about. They want to know. You know, when I took Germany over in 2000, I brought, you know, athletes' performance, the fitness side of it, and they made fun of me, you know, and they said, oh, what are these guys doing? American fitness coaches for German soccer players? He's nuts, you know. And, well, pretty much every Bundesliga team now has, you know, that approach of athletes' performance, you know, and not only in the Bundesliga, but also Premier League, because there's so much innovation in this country, and you are all part of that innovation that is mind-blowing, and it's fascinating. So they always look overseas from Europe. They want to know what's going on in the different sports, in the different colleges in the U.S. They want to learn from the U.S. in many different ways, and I think that is fascinating. So never ever feel that you are behind anything. You are not behind anything. You are your own difference maker in your own way, and you don't, I mean, often, you know, you ask, so should we play now the European, you know, the German way or the English way or, you know, whatever way, you know, and I said, no, you play your way, that you feel is right, that your players are all about. You know, if you don't have Messi, you maybe have a very tall number 9, then play to him, make him happy and give him some crosses, you know, and he had sent some goals. So you adjust to your environment, and the American environment is unique. You know, it's a melting pot. It's, you know, we always talk about the style of play, since always. We will continue that debate until we die, you know, about the style of play. The style of play is what you define it with your players that you have, with their capabilities, with their talent, with their, you know, with their strengths and weaknesses. That's when often we admire Barcelona, we all do. Oh, I want to play like Barcelona. No, you can't, because you don't have Messi and Neymar, and you don't have these guys. So you've been inspired by them. Absolutely, I'm inspired by them too. But it doesn't mean I can play that way. It doesn't mean I can do it their way. I have to do it the way that my players, you know, function and have their talent, and I build it to their strengths, you know, and their capabilities and their mindset and so on. So I just want to encourage you again, you know, like I said before, do it your way. It's your way of doing it. Get information from all over wherever you want to, but then, you know, be the best you can be, and you're gonna have a blast. You enjoy it.
Over here, in the middle.
Yes, Coach.
Hi, Jurgen. My name is Austin. I'm with Oakwood Soccer Club out of Connecticut. Just a quick question. What advice did you give to your players who wish to play abroad in Europe? And given the perception problem of some American coaches abroad, what advice would you give for future American coaches that eventually would want to coach in Europe?
So what kind of different advice, or for...
What advice would you give to your players, and what advice would you give to coaches that would also want to go to Europe?
Yeah, I think the second one would be pretty fascinating. What do you think about coaches, i.e. a Bob Bradley, who want to make their bones in other leagues, who want to develop themselves, improve themselves in Europe? What advice would you give to anyone that's sort of aspiring to break into that level? No different than foreign coaches who coach basketball would love to be coaching an NBA team. So I'm sure there's some of that. So what would you advise on that, and that journey, that pathway?
I admired Bob's, approach to go there and do it, and he did it to the best of his capabilities. And at the end of the day, you are down to other people's decision and results, obviously. I think there's absolutely no problem at all for you as a coach to give it a shot in a different environment, in a different country, going overseas to Europe or going South America. If you are up to that task, that means, you got to adjust to that place. Maybe it's a different language, got to learn the language. Maybe, you got to learn about their cultural kind of characteristics and their lifestyle and all of that. But you can only benefit. And if you don't do it, you will never get an answer. So you gotta, if that's what inspires you one day to say, I'm gonna give it a shot overseas, you gotta do it, because that's what you owe to yourself. If that's, there's no failure to it. What worst case would there be? I mean, you had a tremendous experience. You met a lot of new people, and then you move on. You take that experience, and maybe you come back and you apply it here. That experience to however you want to do it here. So I think there's still that's kind of a fear, for American coaches going overseas and giving it a shot, and it shouldn't be. I think if you get an opportunity, absolutely. And so do a lot of European coaches. A lot of European coaches ask, is there an opening maybe here? We just, saw two gentlemen living here, making their living here, coaching here. So they're trying it their best way with their knowledge that they have, in this very complicated market that we're all in here in the United States because of the educational system, which is fascinating. So do it the other way around. I mean, there are a lot of people overseas that would admire that. They would say, oh, yeah, you know what? Yep. And I actually know quite a few coaches that they're not now on the Premier League level, but they coach in the second division, third division, fourth division in England or in Germany or in Italy, and they're doing a damn good job, and they're learning every day. And so do in other sports. If you look at some resumes of basketball coaches in the NBA, you will actually be surprised to see, how many of those were overseas for a certain amount of time. Maybe as a player, maybe then as a coach in the beginning, and then coming back, and then now they're NBA coaches. So absolutely, if that's what you want to do one day, do it.
Over here, Jurgen. My name's Mitchell. I'm from England. I've been here for nearly 6 years, both as a player and now as a coach. It's obviously very different here, the game, from what I'm used to, what I've grown up with. So I've learned a lot of lessons about the game, and I want to know what the biggest lesson you've learned since being here is.
So what was your biggest lesson?
I had a feeling you were going to bounce that back at me.
No, it's okay. But I mean, we all are in this kind of melting pot, And I give an example. My little girl, she was 10, and she played club soccer, and the communication with the coach or the expectations were just not there. She walked out. She does not play anymore, And a lot of people always say, oh, then they're coming the coaches from overseas and they want to do it their way, and then they're coming the coaches from South America and they want to do it their way. But at the end of the day, it goes always, in both directions. So when you tell your story about the challenges that you have or the biggest obstacles that you kind of find for, that actually helps other coaches then to understand that as well. And so does, players. So it would be cool if you share that with us. What your biggest, wake-up calls were when you came into the United States?
Well, as a player, the game was obviously, like I say, I think it's very different. Everything had to be bigger, faster, stronger with everything. And, a lot of clubs now, as a coach, a lot of clubs still pick their players based off of that.
Based on athletics?
Yeah, based off of athleticism. And as you can tell by me being pear-shaped, I'm not I'm not the most athletic guy.
I think you need to stand up so they can see you.
I would have.
He's got a cast.
He's got a cast, so he's excused. He's excused.
No, but as a coach now, is the way we have to do our sessions. we have to make it as fun as possible, because for me, I was playing 3 times a day as a kid, because I'll be out first break at school, lunch break at school, after school, we were always playing. So for me, it's trying to implement that kind of playground mentality that we had at home as kids as well into training sessions now and again.
Yeah, but isn't that a cool approach? Because that's what we're all in there. We are in there to have fun and to enjoy the game and inspire them. And kick the ball around wherever they can. And with every little kind of moment, they're gonna get better. For me, when I came here, I was a little bit overwhelmed. With kind of the kids looking all the time at us coaches. They wanna hear the answer from us to everything that happens out there. So I think it was actually, Warren, correct me there, 15 years ago at the NSCA convention, we did a presentation and we called it, the game is the teacher. And so for me, overwhelmingly was always the fact saying, to the player that you solve it, you the player, you're gonna figure it out. So we coaches, we put you in a safe environment, we put you in hopefully in a fun environment. Hopefully the chemistry of the group that we gather and put together is a good group of kids and our players. But then it's a player's game. I think this is the big difference to some of the other big American sports, especially baseball probably, and American football, where everything is by plan. And I think our game, once they're out on the field, it needs to be inspiring. It needs to have them, make decisions, movement off the ball. We always discuss movement off the ball. And so how does this happen? Yeah, well, movement off the ball, I cannot show you on the whiteboard. Because movement off the ball is something that I read on the field, because I read the space. When some defenders go there, I go there because I need space. I create space, So I cannot put that into a lecture. I mean, I can obviously talk about it, but so all these elements that probably you then encountered too coming over here were, okay, how can we empower the kids to not only love the game and keep playing the game, but how can we tell them that they're in the driver's seat? And we are, as coaches, we are there to guide that phase. We are there to make sure they stay on track. We are there that they hopefully are, respectful players within a bigger group of people and stuff like that. But for me, it was really that key element. It says, what, I cannot explain you every move. I cannot say, whatever, whether you pass the ball, if you dribble, if you shoot, if you whatever, you just do it. Do it. And if you do it 5 times the wrong way, 5 times you run into the wrong guy, the big guy, and he just takes you off, then I think the 6th time you might want to go around. So you got to figure it out. I think
That's right.
So those experiences that we had, both of us. Yeah.
Last question here. Ladies' line's open.
Yeah. Hi, Jurgen. My name is Vanessa. I'm originally from Mexico, but I'm currently coaching in Canada at the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg. I have 2 questions for you. The first one is, what are the main characteristics that you look in players to be able to play at the highest level and survive that environment? And number 2, a question that maybe is not asked very often, but is as a very important period of time during a game, the halftime talk. What are some of the things that you have learned throughout your career? What to do, what not to do during that period of time? So those are the main questions.
Mm-hmm. Good questions.
The second part, halftime talk, it's a fascinating topic. The influence that we coaches have at halftime. I discuss that a lot with sports psychologists, with people, communicators, specialists, whatever they are called. And the bottom line from most of the people I dealt with, they always came back and said 3 short bullet points. That's it. So now I go back to the coach that coached my little girl when she was 10 years old, and she got a 15-minute halftime talk. And the little girl had a head like that, and I asked her after the game, what did he say? And She said, I don't remember. I don't know. So I think, less is more often in how, information is get put on, kind of given to the players. We tend, because we want to kind of fulfill our coaching kind of role, we intend, all of us, intend to overload players, with information. And I think at one point I got a really good advice from my older coach who told me, listen, Jurgen, game day is emotion day. So whatever you want to tell a player, until that day, in terms of tactical approaches, set pieces, or whatever you want them to memorize or remember it in the game. You got to get it done the day before at the latest, So so never on game day, because game day we all are nervous, we all are, anxious to get out there to prove a point. So because the emotional side kicks in now, we are just limited to a short amount of information. So this was really a key element for me.
Jurgen, I really want to thank you. I really want to thank you, because this was actually arranged before your tenure with the U.S. men's national team ended, and you used this opportunity to continue to be a voice, to continue to be a part of this community. So on behalf of everyone here, just thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Have a blast.